Assalamu alaikum viewers. I hope all of you are fine. This is Ahsan Abdullah Patel. I teach mathematics and today I will be discussing some cases of two circles when they are meeting at a point, more than one point, or they are not meeting. So let us assume two circles when they are not meeting. So let's say this brown line is representing the radius of first circle and this brown line is representing the radius of the second circle. We know that the radius remains the same throughout the boundary. So let's say this is R1, this is R2, this is O1, the center of the first circle, this is the center of the second circle. If I join them, obviously we can see that the radius of first circle combines with radius of second circle cannot meet the distance between the centers. So we can say the distance between the centers, let's say O1 and O2 distance, is greater than R1 plus R2. We can clearly see from the diagram that the centers are far. The center distances, the distance between the centers is more than the sum of the radius. So I can say that the circles are not touching in the first case and the distance between the centers will be more than the sum of their radii. In the second case, the circles are touching each other. So now I am assuming the same, the radius R1, the radius R2 for both the circles respectively. Now this is O1, this is O2. The distance between the centers, we can clearly see that will be equals to the sum of the distances. So the circles are touching each other. If the circles are touching at one point, we can see the distance between the centers, it will be equal to the sum of their radii. Now in the given diagram, in the third case, we can see the circles are cutting at 2 points. Rather, we can say the circles are intersecting. So this is radius 1, this is radius 2. Now centers are more nearer than ever before. So now we can see the distance between the centers is lesser than the sum of the radii. So in the third case, we have already seen that the circles are cutting at 2 points. Now the circle in the fourth diagram, the inner circle, obviously the shorter one, the smaller one, is inside the circle too, but it is touching from the inside. So if the circle is touching from the inside, this should be the distance between the centers. This is the radius 1, this is the radius 2, sorry. So we can see that radius 2 is lesser than radius 1 and we can see the distance between the centers can be found out by subtracting the radius, because R2 starts from here and R1 starts from there and R2 starts from here. So the distance between the centers can be found out by subtracting the radius. Putting a mod will give the surety that it should be a positive. Okay, so now we have an example. We have been given the two circles. I have taken out the center, I have taken out the radius. I have already told you in the previous classes and previous videos that how can we find out the radius and the center. So by now, if I am finding out the distance between the centers and if I sum up the radii, we can see the distance between the centers is lesser and the sum of the radii is greater. So by that way, circles are cutting each other. The third case. Now we have another example. I may find out the center and radius. When I have found out the center and the radius, now I am finding out the distance between the centers and the distance is greater than the sum of the radii. So by that way, I have confirmed that circles are not touching each other. So that was the first case. So this was the topic of circles. We have already discussed more things about circle in the previous lectures. So now this was the lecture regarding circles meeting or not meeting. So I hope you have understood it well, and for more videos keep subscribing me and keep watching the lectures. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.